Okay, I think we'll start then. Maybe a few more people join, which is fine. So thanks everybody for jumping on this session. So today's session is on Office 365 and Teams. So communication around Microsoft Teams. We'll show you around the Office 365 portal as well. All the apps available to you, so Delve, etc. We're going to cover chat, messaging, meetings, so all the things you'd expect from Microsoft Teams. This is actually the first of three sessions, so the next three webinars today and the next 2 Fridays are all around Teams, where we'll build up Teams as a full sort of business tool available to you for all your collaboration, communication needs, and also integration. So third-party applications, for example, Asana for project management, and how that integrates to make Teams, really powerful. So we'll kick off in a minute or so. It's Rob Burrell here and Graham Firm from Axon. Whilst everyone's on mute, we'll keep people on mute. But if you do want to ask a question as we go along, you can raise a hand. So if you just sort of hover down to the bottom of your screen, a taskbar will pop up, and you'll see the raise the hand feature there, or indeed the chat box. So I've started off the chat this morning, so you can ask a question in there, and we'll get round to that either as we go along, or we'll also do Q&A at the end. So great, we'll get going. So I'll hand over to Graham. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I've got my camera running obviously, so hi. I will turn that off because I'm going to be sharing my screen. Thanks everyone. As Rob said, the decorum is please keep yourself on mute. We don't want to be listening to the dog barking and cars roaring down the street or whatever it be, just so we can keep it focused. And as he said, either Rob will interject as he sees a question or a raised hand, and I'll take questions, or you can save them to the end. I don't mind which. Okay, so without further ado, I'm not going to stand on ceremony here. Realistically, I'm just going to go straight into things. I'm going to turn my camera off at this point only because my head's just going to be swinging around left and right as I'm looking at the multiple screens that I've got in order to run this. So I'm going to turn that off. And at this point here, we'll just talk about, we are going to talk communicate. This is a set of slides we're going to just cover. There are only literally 2 or 3 slides. So I'm going to talk about communication today, collaboration and integration over the coming ones. This is a Venn diagram of information, so those 3 subject matters overlap. So you attend the next ones, there will be a kind of, in a sense, a recap to cover over stuff that we've talked about before, because of course if they didn't overlap it wouldn't be a very good integrated system. So in a sense I can't avoid that. I make no apology, but there will be bits that if you join the other ones, there will be some recaps as I cover additional subjects and start to build. Okay, but we're going to focus on communication today, and I'm going to look at the Office 365, I nearly couldn't say that, the Office 365 suite, of which the major component in this is Microsoft Teams, but it isn't the only thing. So the world is not flat. I shall talk about the other products in that suite as well. So without kind of further ado, I'm going to end that slideshow and start getting into a demonstration. So at this point here, we will be faced with a screen with a web browser that is basically running on an Apple Mac by chance. It doesn't really matter what that device is. I could be on a Windows device or an Apple device, or indeed a Linux-based device if I really want to. So it doesn't care less, any device, anywhere, anytime. So here I have a web browser, common web browsers that we're used to using today. We all have heard of them: Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge Chrome, which is the latest version of Microsoft's browser, which is identical to Google Chrome. And then we have Firefox and Safari on an Apple Mac typically. So those are my kind of common ones. We do know that Internet Explorer exists as well, but that's becoming a bit legacy. Anyway, so here I am. I'm using a fictitious test system here. I will drift into a real one, as in ours that we use, but I'm going to use a pre-built demonstration tenant of Office 365 in order to achieve today. Okay, so I'm going to start straight away on this home screen. Now, everyone who has Office 365 should have at least seen this screen, or should, to be honest, see this screen frequently. Okay, it is your home page. It is a tantamount to going to the BBC homepage, to which you then navigate to news or sport or whatever your interests would be. So the very first thing when I talk about communication, and this is that I have a search bar at the very top, which I've highlighted, to which I can pretty much type in here anything. So that could be people. Okay, so if I type in a name of someone, I will find their name. Okay, I could type in the name of a file. You know, we can see down at the bottom there are sites, and there's all sorts of information and files coming up just by what I type. So I've got one in there called facilities. Okay, so I could just look for files by searching. Okay, I'm not here really to talk about finding files. The point I want to bring up is the communication. So let's go with Megan. Okay, so straight away I can get in touch with Megan straight away. I can start a chat. I can send an email. I've got all her contact telephone numbers. I can see where she sits in the organization structure. Okay, everything is in here, all her contact details, all about the person. Okay, as I said, where she sits, even in fact the files that she's worked on with you, and emails that you might have communicated between the two of you. So I haven't even left the home page. I'm already have kicked off the ability to find someone quickly and then initiate some form of communication or pick up where we left off. Okay, so very much straight in that manner. And wherever you see someone's name, a card will appear. Okay, and this card, this case here is not actually displaying, sorry. Yeah, it will float up and bring this information up. So wherever you see someone's name in Office 365, there is a facility to pick up and continue communication. Okay, I had typed in here a product called Delve, okay, which I can't even spell. There it is, okay. And to kind of shorten sequences, I could just click on that and it's just going to bring back. If I click on it, sorry, it will then go and open Delve for me. Again, another product people don't tend to actively use, but yet in our personal lives, we're quite happy to let Google or YouTube or Netflix or Amazon Prime feed us what the next TV show is we should watch and or the next thing we should buy. So this is only the same principle. It's looking at all your business data and bringing it to you. But look down the left, I have people, of which there is Megan at the top, because Megan in this demonstration here is someone I obviously frequently use as a person to communicate with, appears at the top of my list. And again, same principle here. I can see documents that Megan has been looking at. I can click on Megan. I get the same information that you saw before. I get to see what she has been working on, the people she works with. So my communication, and I appreciate some of the things we're going to talk about collaboration here as well, but I can pick up my communication piece straight from Delve. Okay, so that's nice and easy. We just started off on the home page. Okay, it's all we did. We started off from here and we navigated to Delve and it opened up a separate page. Okay, and I pick up information. Fantastic. Okay. We also, and I will mention, we have a product called Yammer, does exist, and some might be using it. I would say to most people today, this is the forerunner to Microsoft Teams. It was or considered the equivalent of, I'll say, Facebook for business, for those that are spitting feathers at the idea of Facebook inside business, but actually was quite a good tool. It was effectively the introduction of social networking in a business. I would say today, it's kind of becoming the old kid on the block here in a sense. It's old news. Still has a place. Some people have been using it for a long time, so that's fair. And when we talk about the integration, Yammer can be brought into Teams, of which obviously I'm going to put my primary focus on next. So I don't want to dismiss the fact that Yammer does exist, and it is, as you see here, a method of communication between teams of people, and it is very much like, I'll call it Facebook for business, okay, where I can post, like, follow, and so forth. but it is not the feature-rich equivalent of what we're going to talk about, which is going to be Microsoft Teams. Okay, so Microsoft Teams then. Realistically, Microsoft Teams is the new kid on the block. Microsoft Teams is the gluing together of many Microsoft products within the Office 365 suite. Skype for Business, we've all heard of, been around a long time, or Skype has been around a long time through Microsoft's acquisition, heavens knows, 8-10 years ago, spending billions of pounds buying that business. Became Skype for Business, and now Skype for Business has evaporated and it has now become built into Teams, as have lots of other features. So Microsoft Teams is effectively all of what you see on the screen in front of you glued together into one product. So it makes it very efficient from a business perspective for the communication, the collaboration, and all the integration in one application. So it is effectively glue that glues most, if not all, of what you see on the screen in front of you into one product. Okay, how can I access Teams? Well, I can access Teams in a web browser, or I can have an app. I have an app running on my machine. I can bring that obviously into screen, and I will do. Okay, and you can clearly see in here, I have Teams in here, of which we have a whole load of Teams, and this is us using it for real. It looks, apart from the fact it's dark in color, it looks 99.99% identical to the web browser version. The feature set between the web browser and the desktop application is probably, the web browser might be 95% functionality as opposed to the application being 100%. So there are some minor differences between the web browser version and the desktop application, but that is no difference than using the full desktop version of Word versus the web-based application of Microsoft Word. So I'm going to use the web-based one because I'm obviously using the real product for our own business day-to-day. Okay, very quickly, we're talking about communication. I'm not going to go through all of the features and structures of Microsoft Teams. I'm really going to just say that you build it up into teams, logical teams that suit your business, and then you subdivide those teams. And here is a team called the Mark 8 Project, the sales and marketing, the consulto, retail, US sales. They're all teams. And the business, in this fictitious business, has decided these teams support the business need. They've then chosen to divide a team into channels. Okay, so I have teams and channels, and within these areas, I communicate. Right, this is going to be really painfully simple. I suspect most people have sent a text message. I suspect most people have used WhatsApp or iMessage on an iPhone or whatever the text or instant messaging platform you've used over the years. Okay, this is no more or less than that. It is more powerful, yes. Okay, but think WhatsApp for now, and then let's build upon it. So first and foremost, I can just send a message to a team. I'm in the general channel of the project team. I can just type in something here. Okay, and to be perfectly honest, I've just hit enter and that's gone. That would be visible to everyone in that team, and your membership to the team is by invitation or how it is set up. So you could have a directors team and only have 2 directors in there, so they can be secured, and so can the channels. So but I'm not going to go into all of that detail here and now. The point I want to say is I've sent a message that was almost a throwaway message. Why? Because I didn't instigate who was responsible for it. I just put something out there. That is almost a bit like sending out a CC message to everyone in the business, you know, a send to all type approach. So that is available to everyone. They see it, but I'll be perfectly honest, it has had no importance attached to it whatsoever. So most people will probably cast an eye over it and move on because of that. We then can move on to elevate that to what's called a mention. And when you're using the @ sign, it will instantly suggest people that you might want to communicate with. So I could start with and put something along the lines of hello at, let's say I'll choose Adele, and at Megan is the name I always use. Have we completed the tender? Okay, question mark. So I know those two people are in this team by permissions and being invited because their names were available to me. Okay, I can't send it to people who aren't a member of a team. Now this has elevated this to a little higher. So the result of that is basically Megan on the other side, and I'm now going to bring another screen, which is me signed in as Megan. So apologize, this could get a little confusing, but hopefully you'll understand what's happening here. So there's another screen coming on, and this is me now being Megan. You will notice my name is highlighted as Megan. I have an @ symbol, which says there is something you were mentioned, something I have to do. Notice the one above, the hello world, has no inference of any importance to me. Let's look down what Megan has here. Where it's bold, she has stuff to read. Okay, it could be trivial stuff. She has no mentions because there would be an @ sign down on this side. She does have an important message here, but she has not been mentioned, but it's an important message. I also have another important message. So a recipient of communication can very quickly prioritize, and I can now reply to me as the IT administrator, if you want to put it like this, put yes, all done. I don't, in theory, have to put a mention back to the administrator. I could. Okay, so what I'm going to just do now is, just having done that, is I'm going to hit enter. That's gone. Okay, for me as Megan. And now we will see Megan has replied to your conversation as an alert that's come up on screen. And there we go. So we're now, just like WhatsApp, we're in communication, but we've elevated things. Okay, so we can take this a step further, depending on how you want to approach things. Is I can now elevate matters. So what happens, I know it's an hour later and I want to put an announcement out or something important. I can hit the format button. And now this adds, rather than the kind of quick fire bang, 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 because when it's not on and I type a message, okay, is I hit the enter key, it goes. Now that actually drives some people potty because you're used to the fact you want to hit the return key to do a carriage return to another line. In the instant message word, there's the keyword, instant. The idea is you type something, hit enter, and it's gone. So if you don't want that to occur, I want to type a message, I hit the rich formatting, because if I type, a message and hit the return key now, the carriage return occurs and the message does not get sent, because this is now for formatting. So I've got all sorts of things in here. I can turn this into announcements. Okay, new customer. If I could type, or spell even. Okay. I can put banners behind it, make it look appealing. Okay. See if I've got something in here. I'll just put something in just so you can see. I can put an image in there. Welcome. I can't type. You get the idea, I'm sure. So what I probably want to now do is actually make this available to everyone in the project team, because I'm in the project team. So I now, after welcome, will use the @ sign, but this time I'm going to type in the name of the team. This is now going to alert everyone in the team that there is something they need to pay attention to. I might mark it as important. Okay. I can then restrict who can reply. I can post it in multiple channels. Okay. So I can make sure this message gets around pretty quick. I've got all sorts of stuff I can do in here, bolding, underlining, bullet points, all the stuff you'd expect to do. Okay. I could put GIFs and memes in here. If you're that way inclined, they can all be turned off if you don't like the idea of this being within a business, but personally it adds a bit of fun. We come to work, let's make it enjoyable. It's not it doesn't have to be under the cosh, but each to their own. You can attach files. I'll talk about that probably later on in another conversation when we talk about the kind of collaboration side. So I can now I've formatted my message, it's ready to go, and I'm going to press send. That's gone. So let's have a look. Back on the other side of the kind of Megan side. Okay, I've got a notification come up. It's appeared in here. I've got an exclamation mark. It's come in. I can like it as Megan. You don't even have to reply. Okay, it's that simple. Of which, of course, I'm not restricted to. There we go. I've got Megan reacted to my message. It's come back. I've got one like, etc. I don't think that's a shock to anyone. But let's just think about running a business. You could have staff working from home. My first webinar last week was about the virtual office, the working from home, which a lot of us have been constrained by the recent COVID issues to work from home. So now staff can communicate really quickly, slickly, straight from here. Okay. And we've got to come onto the audio, the video, and the voice. Okay. So straight away, my communication, I think, is pretty damn quick and slick, and everyone's used to it. Who hasn't heard of WhatsApp? Who hasn't sent a text message? Not many. Okay, so please do cast your mind to the fact that this is all based upon teams. So I'm splitting this down. I might choose to have a general team for the whole company. It's how we choose to do things. Okay. And just whilst we're here, I will just bring up my actual iPad just so we can see this. Apologies, my talking gets very slow as I'm trying to multitask. Okay. Sorry, just. Right, so what you should see in the middle, I apologize, it's not the biggest of screens, but it's the resolution of my iPad. So there we go. That's my real one. And we have an Axon Central, as you can see. We have a whole load of channels. I've got a chat in there to which I've got something to read. I can see a number 1. It's the same experience on an iPhone. So I can reply, respond to messages on the go, wherever I be on any device, iPad, iPhone, Android phone, Android tablet, don't care. Off we go. And just we'll cover this on integration, but if you look in the middle there, the Axon Assistant Neuron is an automated bot AI that is automatically posting into our teams to tell our staff where everyone is and what they're doing today. So, but we'll cover that another day. So your ability to communicate on the go is really straightforward. Okay, so let's just talk about a few other bits and pieces in here. And what I'm going to just do is I'm going to bring over my desktop version in a second. And the reason being, there are some features under these 3 dots. So when we look at a conversation, you can see 3 dots. We've got all of the kind of liking, up here with sad faces, angry faces, and thumbs up. But there are 3 dots. Okay. And I just want to point out in here some important things about that communication piece. If you're the creator, you can edit it. If the company allows it, you can delete it if you regret what you've just said. Also, the company can not let you delete it, so it's there forever. It just depends on how the business wants to, if I'm going to say police or organize the system. Okay, I can make things unread read, just like emails. I can copy a link to this. I can share it via Outlook if I want to now go to snail mail, as it were, and use the old school method of communication. I can translate it, so this system is multilingual, and you can on the fly translate from a ridiculous amount of languages. Or what happens if I'm a person that perhaps has, difficulty reading things? I can turn on the Immersive Reader. The Immersive Reader will go full screen and it will read out the text to you in a natural voice. Okay, not some robotic voice, a natural voice. Okay, so there's a lot of bits and pieces there on the communication side that you can add to. And if the message is really important, you can save it and refer back to it at a later date. Okay, and if there are more actions, depending what the business has added, I can, for example, create a poll, but that will come on the integrate discussions at a later date. Okay, so great. We can communicate very easily across any of the teams that I have. And as you can see, poor old Megan gets picked on. She's in multiple teams. Okay, Very simple. There is nothing to stop me having video conferences straight from a team. I can choose Meet Now. Okay. It wants to have access to my camera and microphone. Okay. There am I again in a cutout, kind of dimmed out video. So I could just put something in here and I'm ready to choose Meet Now. I'm not going to do that because that's going to cut you all off. So that's not a good move. So I'm just going to close that. But the point I want to point out is I can communicate by people very, very quickly, okay, if needed. Okay, so pretty straightforward, I'd like to hope. I can also have conversations with individuals, of course, not just groups of people. So let's just talk about chat, because team chat is the name gives it away. It's a team chat. Okay, it's limited to who's available to gain access to the team, but nevertheless, anyone in the team by invitation, permission, will see the conversations in there. So it's a bit like doing a to and CCing people. Whereas I have private chat, okay, and I can have individual communications, yeah, with good old Megan. Again, my typing abilities and spelling abilities are pretty awful. So again, I've just sent a private message, okay, to Megan. So let's flip over the other side and pretend we're Megan now. You'll see I've got chat on the left-hand side with a number 3. I can come in here and I've got hello again. So we are, again, this is now a private chat between you and that person. No one else can see it. Unless you want to add other people into the chat, there is a choice up here to do just that. So I can add additional people into the chat. Okay. Okay, and I could add another person into the chat and they will pick up. Okay. And now this is a chat between 2 people. Okay, and we can now do a one-to-few rather than one-to-one. I think if you're going to go and add like 10 people into a private chat, you probably should have created a team and limited that team to the 10 people personally, but there's technically nothing to stop you running off here and adding lots of people to a chat. I can now give that a name if I want. Yeah. And give it a name so I can perhaps refer to it. Maybe it's just to do with an HR problem. Maybe you give it a name related to a project or a customer. Yeah, so that you know what you can refer to it again, because the name will appear here. So whatever we want to call it, and it just renames, and that's now my group chat. I can build my own contacts lists up here and create groups of people. So it could be my sales team. Yeah, create that, and then I can start to add people into this group. Okay, poor old Megan gets used again, or whoever it be. I am actually Megan, so that's a stupid idea. So let me just put Alan. Yeah. And now he goes into my sales team group. Okay, and I build that up. I can rename it if I want to. And now I can send messages to a group. Brill. Okay, so I've got private chat. I can share files between us as well. So if we just take my chat here, I'm going to upload a file, which might be in my OneDrive, or it might be on my computer. I'm just going to choose something from my computer, something pretty bland. Let's just see, something pretty silly. Let's just take an image. Okay. I've got my caps lock on, that's even better. Send. Okay, so that goes. Let's move that across, come back to me. There we go. There's the message being sent to me. Okay, great. I can click on it. There it is, full screen. I can choose to download it if I so wish to. But there's the file now stored in our private files area between myself and Megan. Okay, but again, we'll come on to that more detail another day. So communication-wise, we can do things on a team level. We can do things on a private level. So great. So we've got all that communication in play. Good to know, good to hear. etc. So what about how do I keep on top of all of this? Okay, important question. So my activities, this is effectively kind of like going to your inbox, going to Outlook and looking at your inbox. You'll get a feed of everything that is happening. You can filter that feed so that you can choose, I only want to see mentions or not, okay, replies, reactions, etc. So I can filter out, because this list gets quite long. Okay, if I bring mine up, just like dealing with your inbox. So it is important. Do I really perhaps want to know about reactions and people giving me a thumbs up, like the one you see here? Megan reacted to your post. Do I care? Not really. So I'm more interested in the things when people mention me, because that means that's stuff I've got to do. So filtering out is important. Okay, so an important part of the system. Great. So in terms of my communication and people generating that communication, I can now come back and at least see that feed, and that's possible to do on your phone, your tablet, PC. Doesn't matter, it's all the same interface. Okay, so I have that same functionality. What happens if I want to find something apart from just looking at my feed of what's going on? Okay, well, I've got a search window in here. Okay, so what I can do in here is look for any files. So I'm just going to bring over my live system, which will just be showing all of you on this, but I'm going to just type in the top here, invoice. Okay, and it's picked up the word invoice in our system all over the place. It's picked up files where invoices have been shared between me and other people. There are no people called invoice, but I could search for people as well. So that search facility at the top is very powerful, and again, it's astonishing how many or how few people use it. Okay, so you can really look for information just like using Google or Bing. Also, it says there's a /, it says type the / or an @ for a list of commands. So I'm going to hit the /. So what I can do is quickly get to places or put myself, let's say, on do not disturb. So DND. There you go. Your status is set to do not disturb. People now, unless I give overrides, people can't get in touch with me because I want to be left alone. I want to be available. I'm available again. That will be sent to everyone in the business. Will see that your status is that. Okay, so again, very simple to communicate with people. Just tell them what you're doing, what's going. There's all sorts of things in there. Okay, but that's probably the one that most people use. This really perhaps does come into integration, but there is some communication in this. So I'm just going to show you this. It's called Who. And what this allows me to do is basically ask questions about who is in the business. So let me just see, who is Alex? There we go. So I've found Alex and I can start a chat. I can send an email. I can find out perhaps who he works with. Yeah, okay, so there's Adele, and I can keep going. Yeah, I could do a video call with them, do an audio call with them, straight from here. Communication, slick as can be, okay, all built in. And I'm doing this in a web browser, everyone, bear that in mind, okay? I'm not doing this in the desktop app. Remember, this has some of the features kind of missing in a sense. So it's pretty damn powerful. Okay, so we can have that activity monitoring. We've got private chat, we've got group chat. Calendar is pretty obvious. It's just, it is your calendar from Outlook. The important thing I will bring out in this, and I'm just going to bring over my, if I can find, I've got that many screens open, everyone. It's probably going to be a nightmare to find it now. Let me just see. Yeah, I'm just having to sign in. It'd be worth me just showing you. It's all well and good. I did pre-preparation, but enough time has elapsed that it's signed me out. So I'm just signing in, and I will show you one thing and bring it across onto the screen. And okay, this will do. So I'll be with you very shortly. So here is my calendar. Here is the meeting that you're all in. I'm just going to open that, and you will notice in here it obviously has all the information in here, but the point I want to bring to you is an add-in to Teams for what's called Pstn Dialing, which basically means people can phone in on a regular landline if they can't get to a computer of any sort. Okay, they're not obviously going to get screen sharing, but they can dial in. So they could be in a car, they could be moving somewhere, perhaps they just don't have the ability. Bearing in mind you can join a meeting on an iPhone or an Android, any smartphone, but there is an add-in to the communication of Teams for meetings that allows dial-in facility. Okay, so that is another little add-in that really is part of your meeting culture, as it were. Okay, so let's now talk about calls. Now, there is another add-in which takes the communication to the next level, where you can make Teams your absolute telephone system, full-on telephone system. Now, I actually do have that. This is a demonstration tenant, as I've said to you. So you will notice it allows me to make calls, but they're not. They're VoIP calls like you're joined now, as in it's using the internet in order to do it. But what happens if I were to ring someone's mobile phone? If I want to ring someone's, I don't know, house phone in Wales or Australia or wherever, I need a regular phone. So you can extend that functionality in the communication. I'm going to bring mine over so you can see it, the live version of Teams. And if I click on calls, I actually have a number, okay, listed here, and I have all my contacts like you would expect to see on any sort of phone. This works on my mobile, it works on my tablet, it clearly works on my PC. So what I can't do is now make a call to demonstrate it functioning, because otherwise I'm going to cut you off because I'm already on a call with everyone on this meeting. So to satisfy that, what I have done is I have got a little video here. So I'm just going to play this video to show you. There's no audio, so I'll talk over it. So this is my live system, and this is me making a call to my mobile phone. Okay, so I've typed in my mobile phone number. I'm using Teams. I've got a headset on. Okay, I could be using my mobile phone. Top right, you'll see, because it's a Mac, it's picked up my iPhone is ringing because I'm ringing my mobile phone. I just end the call there so I can now show you the other side of the fence. Okay, tells me I've had a missed call on my iPhone, but let's go to the iPhone. Let's see how that looked on the other side. For information on the left, that's what an iPad looks like, and on the right is what an iPhone looks like. It doesn't matter, it could be an Android, Samsung, Galaxy, whatever. Okay, so I'm on my Teams, I'm making a call to a mobile. You see my mobile starts ringing, it's regular, it's in my address book. Because of the way Apple works, it's also brought that to my attention on my iPad. Of course, I would typically answer that call and now we'd be in a conversation. So Teams as a piece of software for communication goes from being a simple chat facility where I can have one-to-one conversations with people to group chats, to then elevate that all the way up to video voice within Teams, but then I can move that all the way out to breaking out of Teams to the telephone network, global telephone network, if I so wish. So this is one product and it does an awful lot, and I'm only talking about communication at this point in time. Okay, so it does do an awful lot. Okay, so let's just take a little step back here and cover off a few things in communication a little bit smarter. I'm going to go back to the project team and the general channel. Well, we can communicate through instant message, voice, video, create meetings, and we can also introduce videos as a method of communicating with staff. Okay, you all, well, I say all, it depends on your licensing model, but by majority, most of you, if you're using Office 365, have this product called Stream. So it means you can actually embed effectively your own private YouTube channel within to enhance that communication piece within a business. It could be, here we go, we've got a roadmap video here where you're telling the business what's going on. Okay, and that is now playing the audio out through my speakers, which you won't hear. But there we go. So we're now making Teams very feature rich. I appreciate there's an element of integration in here, but the point I wanted to point out to you at this point was the communication piece in here. Okay, so we can even push it further with products you almost certainly probably already own. All you've got is perhaps a culture change, a shift in mentality, and to lever the systems that you've got. Okay, let's take this thing about how do I create meetings, because if I have a dispersed workforce, maybe, and most likely have had over the past few weeks and months, okay, I might want to have meetings. Well, I can schedule meetings directly from the calendar in Teams. I can, as you have joined one right now, so I can schedule a meeting. I can do this from Outlook as well. And anything that's in my Outlook calendar will appear in here. Okay, so I can create meetings. I can schedule a regular meeting, which you're all part of right now, and that's limited to 250 people in one go. I think we've had about 200 as a maximum I've seen operating. Okay, so but 250 is the technical limit. If you've got something bigger and you want to push out a video out, maybe an announcement, maybe it's kind of a how-to or whatever it be about product information, you want to get a webinar out there and you've got more than 250 people, you can do a live event, and that's limited to 10,000 people. But it doesn't work with the full interaction that you've got here, because all attendees are watching a screen share. They can only communicate through instant message because it is streamed live. It's about 10 seconds behind real time. So I'm talking, you'd hear what I'm saying about 10 seconds later. Okay, it's broadcast quality. You can invoke all sorts of equipment, and we have had a customer do this, and they've had professional media people in and bosses of companies come up with a good old microphone or tie microphone and done a broadcast live event to all their customers. Okay, so that's built in. It's built into every computer that you have that has this product. Or I can do a meet now for a private meeting. So I can literally click that, it will start a meeting, and then I have to bring people into the meeting that I want to join. So it's really kind of like a private meeting. Scheduling obviously is just the same, except you're planning ahead for it. And as I said, the live event is more broadcasting something out to a greater audience. Okay, I think we've run a couple of those over the time, but it's a more specialized thing, but it's not complicated to do. So you can do an awful lot from there. What I'll also say is just to point out is that the mobile phone has all the facilities here. It is possible for me to share my screen on a mobile phone. So just think about a mobile workforce. They could join a meeting. They could share their camera, maybe for troubleshooting purposes, maybe because you're inspecting something. Okay, you can record it, which I'm doing to this meeting. So again, just think a bit laterally. You know, I can bring up my smartphone, and again, I will do it because it's always good to show people for reality. Hopefully it'll join. There we go. So there's my iPhone. There's Microsoft Teams on an iPhone. You'll see it says at the top, it knows this meeting is in play, and it's asking, I could join with this device. Okay, I've got my calendar in there, and you can see I've got join facility for the one that's on right now, and I've got one later this afternoon, which is saying I can join right now, and various other, I've even got personal things in there. So I've got all my teams, I've got some chats, I've got some activities you can see at the bottom. But I mean, just for silly demonstration, but let's do this. There you go. There's a never-ending picture of going into nowhere. Okay, but there you go. There's all the stuff I've got set up. You can see everything in place. Okay, so think laterally. You've got a very powerful product in place. Okay, there we go. So I'm getting to that point where I'm going to start wrapping up on the communication piece in here. So let's just recap. We've talked about Teams as a piece of glue that holds things together. Okay, we talked about the fact there are abilities to talk on group communication in Teams. Okay, and what we put in here is pretty much up to you and how you structure. You can then have private conversations, maybe of a more sensitive nature or just not relevant to a team. We can then elevate any of these group or individual chats into voice calls using computer to computer calling, or device to device, I should say. So I quite often, if I'm, I've gone downstairs to make a coffee, if someone calls me on Teams, I answer it on my mobile phone. Okay, person who is at the other end's no idea what I've answered it, what device I've answered it on. So we've got all of that ability built into here. We also said, just even if we started on the home page, I have the facility to just look for people. Yeah, and I can get information out and start communication from here. I can go to Outlook and get the same experience in here. Okay, and I can still communicate with people. Okay, so you can see there's lots of information in here. It's all fictitious. Okay, but here we go as a test email. And you can see, yeah, look, it brings up the profile, my profile. I'm just hovering my mouse over here. Okay, it's me, but let's have a look at Megan. Hovering my mouse. Yeah, it's just expanded. I haven't done anything. I want to show more. Same information. It's in my email. And on the right-hand side is a big hint. There's a button here that will take you straight to Teams. Okay, so there's an important message to come here. If you start using Teams, stop using email. Don't use both, unless you want to be a sucker for pain, because now it's confusing and now you don't know what you're looking at, which one's which. So in our business, we do not email one another. That was a long time gone in Axon. We hardly use email. Yes, we get emails in from suppliers, customers. Yes, of course we do, and we reply to them. But my inbox is only full of emails from people outside Axon, not within. And even those customers, many of them communicate with us over Teams. So we're getting less and less. So our inbox is becoming less relevant to us. But nothing to stop people using it. But let's be clear in a business, where do you communicate? So if you think Teams looks good for you and you want to put that as a communication tool, my personal professional advice is there needs to be communication with the business to explain where communication is going to occur. Email or Teams, not both. You don't want people sending emails to all and then someone else sending a broadcast message out on Teams. Very confusing. Okay. Last things, and then we'll start to take questions. There is a settings area which is important to communication, and it's notifications, because by default it will send you a banner, i.e. notify you on your app that you've had something, you've seen that happening, but it will also email you. I personally find that a self-fulfilling prophecy and hypocritical to what I've just said. Okay, because you're now getting an email about something that's in Teams. It seems mad. So normally the advice is change this to banner so you don't get the emails, depending on your decisions where Teams sits within your business for the communication piece, and reduce the amount of email traffic. And personally, likes and reactions, I don't want that even on. Okay, so if you've got this in your business right now, just consider what your notification settings are. They're personal. Of course, you can do as you please. There are a whole bunch of settings around the telephony as well. Okay, who can answer calls? You can have delegated access, so you can have a PA that answers your call for you. The voicemail system, if you leave a voicemail or someone leaves you a voicemail, it will convert the voicemail into text. So it takes the spoken into written if you want to read it rather than listen to it, but all the voicemails will appear, okay, in here. There are none in this system. Okay, my live one, there are, and you can listen to your voicemails on your mobile phone, on your tablet, on your PC. And if you want, you can have the voicemails sent to you as an email and listen to them as an audio file that way as well. Okay, deep breath. We've covered quite a bit there really, just on the communication piece around Teams. As I said, we started off on the home page. We've seen that there are many areas to which this information about communication is applicable, but we have focused primarily on Teams. I am now going to move on next week into the collaboration piece about how we work on information within Teams and building on the communication. and working on files and data and how I can bring things together. And then the week after that, I'm going to talk about integration and bringing maybe third-party systems into here. As Rob said, be that Asana, Trello, I don't care per se, and see how we can make Teams, with the phrase we use in our industry, which is awful, there's always silly words, the single pane of glass. So I can come to Teams on any device, tablet, phone, laptop, desktop, and actually I bring all my information into one place. So the next 2 sessions are going to build on this and build on it, and there'll be almost an assumption that you understand the previous session. So otherwise, I think from a communication piece, that brings me to a conclusion. And it really is open to the floor to ask me any questions, as I promised to finish within the hour. Please go ahead, raise your hand, or just come off mute and fire away. This is being recorded, as I said. It will be edited and it will be available on YouTube eventually.